Alright, so excuse the scraggly beard, I'm on vacation and didn't have an opportunity to bring any of my shaving supplies with me, but I have just gotten back from watching Alabama take on Cincinnati, and we've got to break this down. But before we do, as always, you know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you happy with how the game went down? And let me know what you were thinking about the game. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself. But with all that being said, let's break this down because we have a lot to get into. And first and foremost, I want to start off by saying, hopefully Chris Owens and Emil Ekiyor are okay. I know both went down with injuries. It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with both of those individuals. But what a game we got tonight. Brian Robinson went out there with an inspiring performance, 200 plus yards, to put himself in the history books among college football playoff performances in the rushing category. Brian Robinson is such a cool story because he's someone who symbolizes the process, right? What it means to work, keep your head down, keep grinding, and see the results. Don't be focused on the present. Be focused on how your preparation can get you to the end goal. And we saw that tonight. When he got his opportunity, he absolutely shined. But I want to take a moment to give a hats off to Cincinnati because as an Alabama fan, I knew when I was watching the Cincinnati games, and we talked about this in the pregame show, that Cincinnati was a really solid team, and defensively they had a lot of guys who were really fun to watch. From the linebackers to the cornerbacks, this was a really solid team, and they absolutely showed tonight that they deserve to be in the college football playoffs. They played their heart out, they played aggressive, and they never gave up, but it was just the Crimson Tide's night, and it was that simple. But now let's kind of refocus onto some of the things that happened in this game that I found interesting. And one of them has to do with something we talked about before this game in the preview, and that was how Cincinnati would line up on defense. I knew Cincinnati would attempt to stop Alabama from beating them down the field. It just simply made sense. But I thought at some point Cincinnati would have to stack the box to try and stop Alabama from just running it on them all night long. However, when you're Cincinnati and you're playing a super balanced offense like Alabama, where you have the Heisman Trophy winner at the quarterback position, Jamison Williams on the outside, Ja'Cory Brooks, who has really been coming on. He got another touchdown tonight. He's a really exciting wide receiver, one we've got to keep our eye on as the future unfolds for that young man. You have to pick your poison when you're figuring out how you're going to stop this offense. You can give away the pass. That's completely fine if you're going to try and stop the run. Tonight, Cincinnati chose the opposite, though. They were adamant on not being beaten downfield by the pass game, and instead, they were going to attempt to try and limit Alabama's run the best they could. At the end of the day, Alabama was able to get what they wanted from the running back perspective. Brian Robinson going over 200 yards this evening, and like I said, an absolutely inspiring performance. But that was something that was interesting. I thought at a certain point, Cincinnati would have to adjust and stack the box and play more man-to-man in order to account for Alabama's run game, but we really never saw that. They picked their poison, they figured out that they just didn't want to be beat over top, and they were going to attempt to mitigate Alabama's run in any fashion they could. On the flip side, Alabama's pass rush was there tonight, and not only the pass rush, but the performance by the defensive line as a whole. Mathis batting down passes, Will Anderson affecting the quarterback, Dallas Turner being there as always. This Alabama front is one that I cannot wait to see, not only in the national championship, but what they're able to do going forward. Because you think about it, as great as Will Anderson is, and truly, what a pass rusher. I've talked about this at length. I don't need to go over this anymore. Y'all know how I feel about Will Anderson. It is incredible when you compare a talent like Will Anderson with Dallas Turner on the other side. And Dallas Turner's only a freshman. And had played not even the whole season because of the depth at Alabama at that position. But when injuries came about, Dallas Turner came in and has never really looked back. He is a really promising player, one I cannot wait to watch in the future. But this was a really great playoff game to watch. Alabama had to figure out and battle through some adversity because Cincinnati gave them some looks on the defensive side that was confusing, but it was awesome seeing Bryce Young continue to take what the defense gave. He threw the one interception on a play where he got hit as he threw the ball. That's never a good thing to throw that interception, but I'll always take my quarterback throwing an interception in that manner rather than just making the complete wrong read. Outside of that, though, Cincinnati's defense attempted to do everything they could to slow down this offense, but at the end of the game, Brian Robinson breaks 200 yards, and Bryce Young now finds himself in Alabama history books with how many yards he's passed for this season. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see who Alabama matches up against. Right now, as we speak, Georgia has a lead on Michigan. It's going to be interesting to see how that game goes, to see whether or not we get the rematch of the SEC Giants, or Alabama takes on Michigan, who they played in the Citrus Bowl a few years ago. Very interested in hearing from y'all, what y'all think in that game, but I really am interested in hearing from y'all's perspective on what you saw out of this Alabama-Cincinnati game. Which players impressed you? And it doesn't have to relegate itself to the Alabama Crimson Tide, because multiple Cincinnati players played a heck of a game this evening, and so I'm very interested in who impressed you. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking, let me know what you thought about that game, let me know who impressed you. I'm going to bounce out of here and finish watching this Georgia-Michigan game, but you know, as an Alabama fan, I had to hop on here and talk about it. That's it. See ya.